Hello and welcome to a photographer's view of the recent 70.3 triathlon held in Durban. And I'll be taking you through some of my photos, telling you about the event, what I experienced, some of the hiccups, some of the good stuff. Let's have a look. Well, the first thing with shooting Ironman is you have to understand it's not just a one-day event. It's for a photographer, for a full Ironman, it can be 4 days, and for a 70.3, it's a 3-day event. So on the first day, we'll shoot the registration, the expo, the product expos, and all that sort of stuff. And then on the Saturday, we'll do all of our route recce's, and we'll shoot the bike check-in, which is what you can see on the screen here, as well as the run bag check-in. On my batch of images, and the first one is this young woman checking her bike in to T1 down near the start of the event. And you see the volunteer helping her, and the volunteers really are the backbone of Ironman events. Moving along, this is Mac Muleli from Carte Blanche. I'm sure if you're a South African, you'll know Carte Blanche TV program, and then you'll know Mac Muleli, who's taken up triathlon in a big way, having finished the Port Elizabeth triathlon last year, and a very emotional day for everyone involved there. He did that race in memory of his friend Andre. This is a shot of one of the volunteers helping a athlete put her bike bag on the rack in the correct place and answering 1,000 questions. And the volunteers really are knowledgeable. They're well trained. The transition, I think it's the second longest transition in the world. It just seems to go on forever. It's about 800 or 900 meters long, if not a kilometer. And it's just 2 long rows of bicycles going all the way up and over the rise into the distance. Multi-million rands worth of bikes in that little setup there. And if you're interested, the bike bag has their helmet and their shoes and their feed and everything that they need for the following day. They can't leave that stuff on the bike, particularly the feed, because in Durban the monkeys will have it. They'll run riot down that whole transition area. So these guys have now hung their bike bags. They're running along up to where they have to hang their bicycles on the rack. And there's the following morning, as the athletes are getting ready, checking their bikes, checking the tire pressures, putting their feeds onto the bike. Then you'll see her wetsuits hanging there over the bike rack, ready to be put on. This is a magical part of the day. And luckily for me, she was lit by her friend who was taking a photograph of her with a cell phone. So I just managed to hijack that light for a little bit. It worked very well. That's the long transition I was talking about. It just goes on forever and around the corner, and actually finishes. You can see there's a gazebo at the top. That's the end of it. But with the zoom lens, it's a bit foreshortened. It's certainly longer than it looks. The light's slowly coming up, and there's just that incredible vibe you always get at Ironman events. Down onto the beach, here they are, lining up. At the swim start, you'll see that Roka, it's a wetsuit and swimwear brand that is partnered with Ironman. So it's always good to try and get, well, not try and get, we have to get those partner photographs. On the left, you'll see there's, if you're not aware how the swim start works, you self-seed. So if you think you're going to finish it in 25 minutes or 30 minutes or 40 minutes for the swim, well, that's where you try and stand. And again, the Roka branding, and in the background, the athletes being jivvied up by Gordon Graham, local boyku who's made good on the announcing scene for Ironman, travels the world doing that, and he's getting them all to do the Viking chant. I love this photograph. There's 1,500 people about to have a swim in front of a no swimming sign. The irony and juxtaposition of what's going on there is just appeals to my sense of humor. And there in the middle of all the chaos is this little moment of solitude and peace. And those are the sort of things that draw my eye. And I just love this photo. And immediately changes to one that amuses the hell out of me. I don't know why. I just found this funny. And this, if you've done triathlon, you'll know about the triathlon point. It's the swimmers pointing out to each other and trying to work out their correct route around the swim buoys, which they can see out in the sea. Here we go at the start of the race. It's 8 minutes past 7. Off they go into the sea. The sun's coming up into a very hazy sky. And you'll see that there's no definition on the sun, but it's great because it means there's not so much backlighting, which makes it a lot easier to expose photographs. Was trying to get the little points of interest with the sea and the splashes and the waves. And this is what the swim start looks like from the other side. We're lucky as event photographers we're allowed in that space, because otherwise we'd have to be on the side behind ropes in an area designated by the marshal, so we get to be right in on the action. And again, you can see the volunteers, lady in pink on the left. She's a volunteer captain, so she's in charge of a whole group of people. She's actually quite a sweetheart. She had a big operation on her right hand a few weeks ago, but she's there on duty, loving what she's doing. I love this photo. You can see the speed they're running into the water from the splash and the hole she's left in the water. And again, I'm quite lucky with this shot because the runner in the middle has got a partner branded wetsuit on, so that makes the photograph a lot more valuable for the organizers. Then running up to the top of the sand dunes and shooting down so you can get an idea of the starting arch, the swimmers queuing up to get in, some people running to the sea, and all of those in the far distance swimming towards the far buoy. This is DJ Dane Lee, who's also another local boy. He made good, travels the world playing music and DJing at all the Ironman events with Paul Kay and his crew. So this is where he was, up on the pier, laying down the vibes and creating an incredible atmosphere. And there's out to the sea. And we've had some events that have been, the swim's been cancelled because the sea had been so horrendous, but this was just a glorious day for a swim. I then moved out onto the pier to try and get some downward shots, and it's really interesting to see here is actually the amount of water safety there is. These are the Durban lifeguards, water safety all the way through the swim route. And this photograph, I wanted it to show that swim safety. Well, you can't show it's in Durban if you haven't got a palm tree, because Durban and palm trees are pretty synonymous, and what we want to do is place the event within its environment, and I think here we've done that nice early morning start with the palm tree and the silhouettes of the spectators on the beach. Now you can see the sun's a little bit higher, so we're battling with backlighting here and having to bring out the shadows and take down the highlights. That's always an issue you're going to have with an early morning swim in the sea, because the sun's always going to rise directly into your eyes and there's nothing you can do about it. But again, you can see a lifeguard checking out to sea, checking everyone who's coming in is fine in the surf line and no one's in difficulty. Running up towards T1, towards where the bikes are, wetsuits coming off on the top, the guys are ready, and look at the spectators there. Here again, setting the race within the environment, the Moses Mabhida Stadium in Durban in the background, the promenade and all the hotels and the buildings. We always get this view and it's always spectacular to shoot. Into T1, cycling shoes on, helmet on, battle braids in place, and ready to pack all the wetsuit and everything back into the bag. And the volunteers take those and pack them away and take them to the race finish, which is about 5 kilometers up the road. Always a good shot to get in the transition. And here they run. This guy's got the most muscular legs I've ever seen in my life, but my word, he can run. And here he is. He's got his bike. He's heading off out to the end of the transition, a good few hundred meters up the road, where he's going to get onto that beautiful bike. And here you can see the start of the transition chaos with everyone grabbing a bike, those who've got them, those who still have to run half a kilometer up the road to get theirs. It's quite a spectacular sight when this whole thing is just totally organized chaos, until you get some guy who runs miles past his bike, forgot where he put it, and then he has to start counting his way backwards to find it. And you always see those, and I try not to laugh too hard. And again, Durban beachfront is Gert Wilken, one of the legends of triathlon in Cape Town, setting him against the backdrop of the beach and the sea. And this is a neutral zone. It's about 4.5 kilometers long, where they can't go down on the tri-bars, they can't race, they can't overtake. Rules are in place, and there's a sign showing that rule. No racing, overtaking, or tri-bar zone. If you crash, you will be liable. Everyone seems to respect that. Again, palm trees, buildings, Durban. What a beautiful place to hold a triathlon. And this was quite a lucky shot. There was the graffiti on the wall. Unfortunately, it's pretty restricted my field of view by the palm tree on the right and the seat on the left. But I saw the riders coming past, and I figured if I shot at 30 frames a second, one of them's going to have a rider's head within the heart sign of the hands, and there you are. I got lucky. Not the sharpest of photographs, unfortunately, but I love it. This is the old tunnel that goes from the promenade through to the Moses Mabhida Stadium and then onto the freeway. Previous years, athletes ran through there. It was part of the run route. This year was part of the cycle route, so it made it very exciting for me. Something a little bit different, because the tiles on the side are very reflective, and this is the shot I got from that, just trying to be a little bit different with the tunnel. I'm not a massive fan of taking photos from the back. It doesn't show the face and the energy and what the athlete is going through. But in this case, it's the only way to get a cyclist in the Moses Mabhida Stadium all in the same shot. So you get what you get. I'll live with it. Here's a massive guy. I mean, there's some power in those thighs, and the power actually transferred into a broken chain. Lucky for him, there's mobile bike mechanics who stumbled upon him almost straight away, and they had him going within a minute or so. And that's a young man in action fixing the chain, and super friendly mechanic, super guy. This is an interesting photograph because the one thing we don't want with any of the races that we shoot is to politicize it, but here we are 3 days after a national election. Well, there's going to be posters on the poles, and there's not a whole lot we can do about it. This shot I took actually just to show the problem of the posters, not to actually, it would be a great shot if they weren't there, but there's nothing I can do about them. So here we try and we shut down to still on f6.3. In hindsight, I should have probably shot at f2.8 and I could have blurred out all of those posters on the side. But if we crop in, that first one on the left hand side can go in, then nobody will know which political party it was. There's a surefire way of getting rid of the posters is to pan a shot to the side. So 1/60th of a second at f10, and you just blast away until you get one of those shots that's going to be sharp, and this was the one. This is shot with a super wide angle lens at 12mm. I'm standing up on the wall between the two lanes. I like this photo because it shows that the main roads are closed for the triathlon. There's no cars other than organisers, motorbikes and emergency vehicles on these roads, entirely shut for the triathlon, and these are major freeways. And this, I think, shows that quite clearly. Also, it's nice because it's got the Umgeni River, which runs underneath. And it's quite a funny story because the motorbike I was on the day had a puncture, and this is where I ended up when the tyre finally went completely flat, and it worked out perfectly because underneath this bridge is the run route, the far point of the run route that goes around the Durban Rowing Club. So I wanted to be there anyway. I just didn't want to do that much walking, but I did, and I actually got some great shots as a result. So this is where the motorbike went. I got off, normally would go miles out into the distance, but there was luckily for this event, we have 2 photographers. So Richard, the other photographer, took the bike route while I concentrated on the run route. There's a couple of the marshals from the run route, and it was a little bit early for the runners to be on their course, so they were up watching the bikes coming past and having a great time. Always try and capture them because they really are the heart of the event. This low shot with the camera on the ground, looking at the viewfinder on the back of the camera. I love these shots. I think they just show the rider coming nicely over the rise. And just again, a pity about the posters on the left, but those are easy. Those 2 are easy enough to get rid of just by cropping or photoshopping. Coming down now onto the run route just to see what's down there, and the riders going over on the bridge above me and shoot them through the railings. A little bit something different. The riders crossing the Umgeni River. It's a pretty place, and it's made for photography and triathlon, I think, so the two go together beautifully. And a panning shot with the sea in the background and the sand dunes and the mouth of the Umgeni, just going out into the sea. And a lot of fishermen down there in some of the photographs you'll see later. That's Donovan Geldnes, the race winner, and at that point just the race leader, with the leading athlete bicycle following him, running down past the river, and it really is pretty. Guy Crichton running along next to the Umgeni, between the river and the boating pond. It's really nice. Look at the beautifully manicured lawns, some of the autumn leaves lying on the grass. What I love is the colour of his tri-suit. Guys, don't wear black tri-suits. They make terrible photographs. I've said it for years. Please, colour. And palm trees. It's Durban. Let's make the environment reflect what's actually there. Also, I love the way that the feet are in midair. If you're shooting triathlon in Durban, chances are you're going to shoot Glenn Gore, and it's always a pleasure to actually capture him. It's one for my memory banks as well as his. Nice low shot, super wide angle, shooting at 12mm, shooting upwards into the sun. Get around the exposure problems you have with that. Modern software and modern cameras actually help so much. Otherwise, that would just be a black blur. I love graffiti. Graffiti can always tell a story, and one of the stories, obviously, we know well in South Africa is lack of water and droughts. And water is a human right. It actually is. It's in the South African Constitution, and it deserves to be there. Getting that with the bridge and the graffiti and the runner and the river, I reckon that's a good shot. And again, Mariette Hatton running past the graffiti that tells a story of why we need water and how we came to the point we are. with the shortage of water, and it's a positive story. There's one of the fishermen I was talking about earlier, trying to put the runner in the environment. There is a river and people fishing. It's just a pity about that ugly 40-gallon drum, but nothing I can do about it is there. And again, trying to get the environment, fishermen on the beach. I was out on a small little pier at the end of the run route, and it afforded me the opportunity of shooting backwards across the beach with a couple of runners and the city skyline in the background and a fisherman or two. This is Aaron Massini, and he's having a great time. Sun's out, tongue's out, apparently. And I just love the interaction and the smile. And here we are, beachfront. It's the promenade. There's a triathlon. There's the sea. There's endless blue sky. Let's get those all together. The athlete doesn't always have to be front and center. He can quite happily be a little bit smaller and included in the environmental photo. This is quite a funny image because I was holding out the Coke cup to shoot it as one of the event sponsors, so we need to get those shots. And as I was holding it up, this chap came past and grabbed it because he thought I was offering it to him, and it sort of went all up my arm, but it did make an interesting photo, and they use that on the Instagram feed during the day. These shots are always good. They're the water points of water sachet. The athletes are hot. They're drinking the water and they spray it over themselves. They're much better in the late afternoon with the sun behind the athletes, and there you just get the full splendor of the water drops. But this is a good enough one. Love those tattoos and the colors. Competing for Ironman for the Kids, local charity that's been around for years, and they've raised millions and millions of rands for children's charities in Durban and Port Elizabeth over the years. If you want to support a charity, Ironman for the Kids is the one. This was shot from up in the Surf Lifesavers Club, up on the balcony where they always stand with their binoculars and look out to sea and make sure everyone's safe. So try to get up there. It didn't quite work, but just to show you how we try and get the different shots. Here's a proper shot showing the beach, the aloe, the surf, the runner, lovely shadow showing the sun and the heat in the summer. Another one putting the athletes in the place where they are, and there's a map of the beach and the beaches around there, just to show some of the facilities that Durban has to offer. And it was very, very clean this year, I must say. There was no litter, no horribleness. If you're not South Africa, you won't understand this ho being a ho. It's keep going, legs, keep going, I guess, would be the literal translation. But as I say, I enjoy a little bit of graffiti. I can't remember who this is. Let's have a look. It's Emma Johnson off on the run. The reason I put this photograph in is because I wanted to show the perspective you get when you put the camera on the ground. This camera is literally facing on the ground. I'm looking on the screen at the back of it and focusing. And it just gives a totally different perspective. It makes the athlete look powerful in the photo. But I love it. I'm using it more and more in my work. And again, taken from ground level. Nice little cityscape behind, the Surf Lifesavers Club on the right, and this is where all the marquees and the clubs have their gazebos and support their athletes. So it's quite a busy zone. It's very loud and raucous, and nothing like a sign. Always try and get the spectators who've gone to the effort of making a sign, and almost always very funny. And some of them I can't show here, although I'd love to. And there it is, the iconic Moses Mabhida Stadium, and trying to get the Isuzu branding in because the Isuzu are the main sponsor of all of the Ironman South Africa events and have been for years. And thank you very much to them. This quite interesting shot that I put in here because I wanted to show you the advantages of modern cameras with 50 megapixel sensors, because this is a cropped in image. You see the lovely drops off the nose and the hat, and the actual shot is that. So you can see that's how much you can crop into a photograph and not lose any definition. It's still super sharp. You'll cut your eyeballs on that photograph. It's so sharp. And spectators having a great time, going bang, bang, bang. And these are the shots you've got to look for. These are the shots that the sponsors love and the organizers love, because this can be used for promotion for the following years. Yeah, keep your eye open for the weird stuff. I don't know, a unicorn in Durban? It's better than a monkey, I guess. This is the start-finish area. I shot from the balcony of the Suncoast Casino, and it's actually 8 photographs that I've stitched together to produce this one that gives an idea of the size of the start line and where it is, and again the palm trees on the beach. It's pure Durban. That's the Pirate Surf Lifesaving Club. I think this run course has gone in front of the life-saving club as long as the race has been on. And the lifeguard sitting up on the balcony and the runners suffering in front of it. Well, if in Durban, you have to get the famous frame shot. Partner hotel in the background and the runners coming towards us. And always important to get the actual local landscape and points of interest in the photographs if you can, because those are what make the event special. For instance, a rickshaw. A runner in a rickshaw. I mean, does it get more Durban than that? This is the last athlete, which is a sad photograph to take, but it tells a story. And as I said to her, she only has to overtake one person to get rid of the guy on the bicycle. This one, Pumzi, he's the guy who broke his chain earlier, and he's pounding along quite happily on the run. He's pretty much an inspiration to everybody. He's a big lad, but he's a powerful man. And super fit. Choice of clubmates, Kickstart Triathlon. Again, look at the color. Imagine how drab and boring that photograph would be if they were in black kit. Well, I wouldn't have it on the slideshow. I wouldn't be showing you it. It just wouldn't be worth it. And again, green battle braids. That draws my eye straight away. It's the battle braids, the dried salt on the tri-suit. And although that's a black tri-suit, and you know by now how much I feel about those, well, it works because of the green hair. Finish line joys, hands in the air, big smiles. Couple goals, I guess. Everyone's happy in this photo. The two in the front, the one in the back with the hands up. This is a pure Ironman finish. And that's my take on the Ironman 70.3 Durban. I hope you enjoyed that with me. If you did, please hit the like. Try and hit the subscribe if you can bring yourself to do that, because really otherwise I won't know whether you like what I'm doing or not. And I'm quite happy to make these as long as you're happy to watch them. And so until next time, we'll see you.